Oh, good morning. Good morning. I don't know what Linda's talking about today, but something about doing or being, or I just don't know. I saw a very brief, which is probably best, description. 'Cause she didn't know either? Okay. My youngest sweetheart at home, she turns 10 tomorrow on Valentine's Day. And I wrote this for her brothers probably 25 or 30 years ago when they were that age. 25 years ago when they were that age. So she has much older brothers. But this goes to all of them and all of you. Where you been? Where you been? Playing in the field, my kids dressed in smiles, hanging on to all that joy, just a little while, running with them, kicking a red ball a country mile. Well, it makes this life worthwhile, worthwhile. Sitting round a fire, friends around the flame, love surrounds the campsite, playing late-night games, retelling silly stories, people laughing just the same. And we stumbled on this timeless refrain: you can't be who you be till you've been where you've been. The sweetest things in this life are your soul's best friend. If you let that all inside, you won't regret it in the end. You can't be who you be till you've been where you've been. Well, my mom had quite a smile, and Dad a piggy grin. Their brightest little stars, though they started to dim. Now it wasn't what they dreamed of, but they still live within, and they color all the places that I've been. No, you can't be who you be till you've been where you've been. You know the saddest things in this life, they'll come back again. But don't you lock 'em up inside, or you'll regret that in the end. You can't be who you be till you've been where you've been. Where you've been. You can't be who you be till you've been where you've been. You'll never put your foot into the same stream again. And if we let that all inside, we won't regret it, all my friends. You can't be who you be till you've been where you've been. Where you've been. Good morning.
I don't normally hear you end on that high note, high thought, but that was a stretch.
Yeah.
That was a stretch. I saw that. Thank you, Steve Mason, who last time I called Steve Taylor, but he's not. Yay. Thank you. So, he drives from Linwood to come to be with us on Sundays. And it is Super Bowl Sunday, and he could have just. And if you look around the room, he is one of two men here this morning. Both working, yes, there you have it. Good morning and welcome to Unity Skagit Valley. We greet you in the warm and loving spirit of unity and in gratitude for your presence, those of you who are in the room and those of you who are online. We love how willing you are to continue to adapt to whatever way you can be present with us. We continue to do Facebook, and now we're on YouTube, and then we're here in the room on Sunday mornings. But however you come to be with us, we are so grateful. And if not on Sunday morning, whenever you happen to pick up the broadcast or whatever inspires you as a result of something you've heard, we are so grateful for your willingness to walk the walk and deepen your spiritual understanding. Open yourself to greater awareness. Be receptive. Your willingness to be receptive to ideas that change your mind and change your life. So good morning and thank you for being here. These words are called shining words. And these affirmations were chosen for display in the lobby of the administration building at Unity headquarters. They were favorite affirmations of Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity. Powerful words of truth, statements of a deeper reality. The joy of the Lord is your strength. The joy of the Lord is your strength. God in me is infinite wisdom. I know what to do, and I do it. I can do all things through Christ within, which strengtheneth me. Try that 3 times. Strengtheneth me. Nothing can disturb me. For Christ is my peace and my poise. The indwelling Christ is my peace and my poise. All things work together for what? Good. All things work together for good. In quietness and in confidence shall be your what? Strength. Faith is the strength of the soul inside, and we are lost without it. Faith is the strength of the soul inside, and we're lost without it. The greatest teaching ever given us, Christ in you, your hope of glory, the divine reality of your being, the image and likeness, the very substance of life itself, the very idea of life, the very creative power of life, the reality of everywhere present oneness. The Christ. It was Matthew Fox who began to use the phrase the universal Christ, which was, of course, a bit of an abomination for the Catholic heritage he had come from. Eventually, he said too many things in a way that didn't fit with the old doctrine, and Matthew Fox was defrocked by the Pope. He went to Rome and lost the privilege of his position. But he didn't ever change his mind. He saw through and saw what was true for each of us always. That presence within, the image, likeness, however we call it, of life itself as the truth of our being is the hope of our glory. And the last one, God is my help in every need. Myrtle Fillmore wrote, God does my every hunger feed. No matter the word we use, affirmations speak to us about a truth that empowers and puts us on the track of right understanding. We don't say that the word God is everyone's word for whatever the power is that moves in and through the universe. We say by any name whether it is the word life or love or peace or whatever comes to you as the way you identify this power, this presence, this reality of your being, is just the right way to support your understanding and your spiritual realization. These days, when we talk about inclusivity, we talk about inclusivity not just of every person, but of every faith, of every path, of every road, the way we experience life in its fullest and in its promise. That's our liberation, to walk the way we are directed and guided and inspired. And so it is that on this Sunday morning, when we say there's only one presence and one power active in the universe, in your life and in mine, God the Good, we could say any number of words that support that idea. There is one presence and one power. Where do you find it? There's one presence and one power. What empowers you? Where do you go looking for that which empowers you and lifts you? Active, this creative power in your life and in mine. Infinitely. And then we say, that which empowers you and uplifts you and transforms you is good. That at the heart of all things, it is good and everywhere present. Daily Word Reader this morning, our friend Denise. Come. The word compassion today.
Good morning. I'm very honored to be reading this today, and I dedicate these words to everyone who's needing compassion today. I am a compassionate presence. In periods of peaceful contemplation, I immerse myself in the unconditional love that joins the human family together in God. As the awareness of divine love fills my mind and heart, it dissolves all memories of difficulties and feelings of discord. Centered in divine love, I deeply feel my oneness with God and with all people. I now see the people in my life anew, beholding the divinity of each dear one I meet. My heart overflows with empathy as I respond to their troubles and celebrate their triumphs. I am patient. I listen with intention. I recognize their divinity as I recognize my own. I welcome the flow of divine love as it blesses me, as well as those with whom I am sharing my compassion. And from Leviticus 19, verse 18, you shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against any of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord.
Nice job. You have to be careful when you walk in here on a Sunday morning. You could get a job by surprise. Thank you for doing that. I don't know why this calendar was here, and I think we have some calendars available, do we? No, we don't. This is a rare calendar. I would auction it off to you for $2,000-$3,000 if you need it. Unity calendars are beautiful. Above all, love, it says. Above all, love. I don't have any announcements this morning. Jerry and Beth, made it to Mexico quite well. If you receive Jerry's Facebook posts, you'll find that he's writing a blog, and they're very fun and very funny. And it starts from being in LA and continues on until where they are in their journey this morning or yesterday. I think it was last night. Anyway, they're settling in to the exploration of life in Ajijic, Mexico. So they're doing well. Sam Long, thank you for sitting in Jerry's chair and fulfilling the duties that have everything to do with filming and whatever else you're doing and whatever else he does on Sunday morning. Ellen, thank you for your presence, for always being here to do the thing that needs to be done so that sound and transmission occurs. So thank you. And more than that, so many things happen here during the course of a week. Maybe not in the building, but in our lives. If you have a prayer need or you know someone who does, if you're in the room, fill out a prayer slip, put it in the prayer box, and the prayer ministers will be praying with your request for 30 days, and then it will go on to Silent Unity at Unity Village for another 30 days of prayer. So if you are not in the building, submit your prayer request at info@unitysv.org. And if you want to be on the mailing list, those of you who are online, if you'd like to be on the mailing list, please submit your request at info@unitysv.org. Last Sunday, somebody sent me a request through info@unitysv.org. So apparently it's the collective inbox for many things that are important. So, anything else? Projects, things happening, things I need to... Is there a book study in my life? Every time I come close to scheduling it, I back away. I can't even explain why that is. By now I was going to start. So the book by Wayne Dyer's daughters is called The Knowing. I was going to do that. And then I'm all reading these Eric Butterworth books again. And they're so powerful. And I thought, oh, maybe I should do that. And then I get myself confused. And now there's a new Brené Brown book called The Heart of Something Something. It's a big book. It's beautiful. So now I'm all confused. So if you've got suggestions for book study on Tuesday mornings, I'm sorry. I'm messing around now. Now I'm like, I don't know what to do. My guidance is not clear. But I promise I'm going to get it on the calendar. I know I am. It seems. Yeah, pray for me. I've had. Yeah, please do. Need book study now. That's all you have to say. I love our Tuesday morning book study. It's the most fun of all. I'll straighten up and fly right. I've had too much downtime. My motivation is just needs a big stirring up. I'm sorry, am I complaining? Could we whine about a few things? All right, I'll behave. You still there? pull me back. Would you do that? I think we should pray. I just do. Yeah, let's do that. Let's meditate a little bit, huh? And see where Spirit wants to take us today. It's good. I feel good that I'm laughing. It feels good to have some laughter bubble up. What are you asking for today? Not begging for, but what are you asking for today? In the asking is a claiming. In the asking, there's a knowing that the desires of your heart are already fulfilled by the presence. You couldn't conceive a desire or an idea, but that there is already a pattern, an idea of manifestation, forming, shaping, coalescing into the right and perfect expression. If we conceive the idea of something deep in our heart, Spirit is speaking our name, calling us forward into the realization that this possibility, through our thought, through our deep commitment, is coming into being step by step and day by day. We accept that every desire has its own fulfilling in right time, in right season. And today we allow the seed of what we most desire to be nourished and nurtured, attended. Allowing your breath to lead you inward, and allowing your body to let go. You settle in. The words are just words. It's the flow we want to establish. That clear willingness to experience the flow, the flowing forth of Spirit in and through. It wells up inside and moves through us as though we are an instrument for divine expression. The deep places of our being are connected infinitely and intricately into this creative flow. Our whole being and that which is beyond our body is the instrument of divine expression. And there's no absence, nothing missing. And we let ourselves relax into that flow. How long, we ask, have I carried a dream, a desire in my heart? How long since I've taken a full, deep breath and let go of everything for a moment? We're so good at holding on and so unskilled in letting go. But it's in the stillness that we find what we're looking for. The peace. The connection. The love. I allow that welling up of the divine energy that's expressing in me and through me and as me. I allow that welling up, that pure flow of divine energy to soothe me, to guide me, to restore my soul. And as I allow Spirit to do that perfect work in and through and as me, I know that the dreams I dream, the pure desires of my heart, naturally and innately come into being. I pray as being filled with the light I share, my good with others, as I am being filled with the light, I hold light for others. for those who are in pain, for those in need of compassion, for those who feel themselves lost and alone. I hold the light, and I hold you in the light. Spirit is here and there. And because I know the truth, that truth, I know that there's something at work bringing forth good in my life and in yours. In prayer, in faith believing, I give thanks for the power that is now and always and forevermore at work. The love that is present and the peace that abides. In thanksgiving, I say, Amen. And so it is.
I wish you peace and truth and all the strength you need in this dream we call today. I've dreamt of hope and love where the land meets the sea, washing over you like a wave. I want to give you one gift each and every day, one gift throughout our lives. I've sent these thoughts across the universe to guide your pathway and share this dream tonight. Wash over you like a wave. It cleans your hidden beaches. Feel it rinse away your pain. Wash over you with a gentle wave that leaves you in the sand with love so pure till you need to dream the waves again. I wish you peace and truth and all the courage that you need. Oh, precious are the memories we create. I've dreamt of hope and love where the clouds go to seed, pouring over you like the rain. I get caught sometimes feeling helpless. We're always trying to say the right thing. Oh, but it's a time for being selfless, to share a smile or a tear, or a reason to sing. Wash over you like the rain. Let the clouds gather quickly. Feel them rinse away your pain. wash over you with the sweetest rain that leaves you in the sun with love so pure, till you need to dream the rain again, till you need to dream the waves again, till you need to dream.
I love that song. I do. I love that song. Do it again. And more and more and more, please. So, I didn't say this last week, but I meant to. We're doing a study from Eric Butterworth. We're doing it on Sunday morning. A study from Eric Butterworth's book, The Creative Life, 7 Keys to Your Inner Genius. And so last week was about thought, a little modified, but today is looking at the idea of spiritual practice from a different, slightly different perspective. But actually, it's exactly what I think I most need right now. So there you go. This is an article I found by the organization that Father Richard Rohr is part of. And he's a mystic and an amazing being and a prolific writer. But I don't think he wrote this article, but the person who did says this. One of the simplest methods of contemplation is to practice the presence of God as described by Brother Lawrence, who lived at 1614 was his date of birth. He was a French Carmelite monk, and they describe him as a gentle and humble man who, despite his lack of education, actually this would be true, I think, of some of the greatest beings we've known, despite his lack of education, radiated holiness. It was that natural knowing that comes for individuals who really strive to live a life in keeping with their spiritual reality and truth. So this person says Brother Lawrence's practice was a form of Zen, a focus on the present moment in order to wake up and be able to see the light. So here are some modern paraphrases of his maxims, the things that he believed. This is a modern paraphrase. I don't practice, so this is the individual who's writing this, who has paraphrased it, and I thought I could have written this. I don't practice, well, sort of, could have, but not really. I don't practice any particular prayer discipline. I have no specific technique I use to meditate. I know these methods work for many people, but for me, when I tried them, I just spent all my time rejecting my wandering thoughts over and over. I've tried to practice these disciplines, but now I don't worry about them anymore. Their only purpose anyway is to bring a person to union with God. Why should I fast or set aside particular prayer times or deny myself in some way when I've found the shortcut? if every moment I'm consciously practicing love, doing the things I do for God's sake, then I don't need to worry about these spiritual methods. I love the permission in this. My thoughts are the biggest obstacles to this way of living my life. The little useless thoughts that drift through my head, making mischief, distracting me. I've learned to reject them as soon as I notice them. They have nothing to do with the reality at hand. And once I stop paying attention to them, I can get back to communing with God. I have abandoned all particular forms of devotion, all prayer techniques. My only prayer practice is attention. I carry on a habitual, silent, and secret conversation with God that fills me with overwhelming joy. When we walk in the presence of God, the busiest moment of the day is no longer different from the quiet of a prayer altar. Even in the midst of noise and clutter, while people's voices are coming at you from all directions, asking for your help with many different things, you can possess God with the same serenity as if you were on your knees in church. I can't always maintain my focus. I'll suddenly discover that I've barely given God a thought in a good long while. And usually what gets my attention is that I'll notice how wretched I'm feeling. And then I realize I've forgotten God's presence. But I don't worry about it too much. I just turn back immediately. And having realized how miserable I am when I forget, my trust is always that much greater. The divine presence occupies the here and now. If you are not aware of this, become so. I love when people take us off the cross and back into the reality of living. I have such admiration and awe for individuals who practice a steady discipline down through time and over the years and wake up into these states of being. But I'm a scattered person frequently, a mentally scattered person. I have to really rein myself in, and so I get bored with things. And a teaching will rise for a while and stay strong with me. And then it kind of evaporates, and I go on again, and I think, oh, I remember how much I loved that when I'm reminded of it. And then I'm on to the next possibility. I love the adventure of seeking more than I love the discipline of seeking. I've not been, the best unity student over the years. I incorporate all these ideas into a collage is a good word. Yeah, it's a good word of practice and thinking. I love the Buddhist part of me. I love the Christian part of me. I love being inspired by words from people I don't know in cultures I have no relationship with. And so I'm stirred by the creativity of the spiritual journey as much as I am from being on the road to a discipline that works. And so when somebody offers grace and permission to live in the experience and in the awareness rather than force myself into a pattern that doesn't really work for me, then I'm joyful in my spirituality. Then I'm a happy kid. And I have a lot of books, and I love my books. And some of them I was sure I would read one day soon. Um, because they mattered to me, because they're on the shelf and I have a lot of them, and then there they sit, and then something happens, like I pick up an Eric Butterworth book and about the creative life, and he goes back to the creative process as it's spelled out in the first chapter of Genesis, and he takes it apart in metaphysical terms, and invites us to explore each in our own way what truth is for us. And so I started reading it, and I thought, oh, we're back to living our spiritual journey creatively. Part of creativity isn't just getting locked into a prescribed something. Spiritual creativity is to push the edges and see where the light is in any given time, or what is inspiring and inflaming, if you will, in a positive way, our thoughts. And how does that happen when we're washing the dishes or cleaning the litter box, or where my little God creatures, fur beings that they are, endowed with spirit, as I'm cleaning up what I hadn't cleaned up yesterday, and I think, you can find it anywhere. John Kabat-Zinn wrote once about cat dishes in the sink. So here he is, this brilliant meditation teacher and Zen kind of being who's really universal. And he said, the thing that gets me is when my family leaves cat food dishes in the sink. He said, it takes me over the edge. I go crazy, not in a nice way about it. But he said, over time, I've made a decision to practice where I was, what was coming up for me in the experience of my living. And he said, I still gag, but he said, I've stopped attacking other people for my experience of cat dishes in the sink, and we're much more peaceful in our home now, because obviously the people around him really didn't care how he felt about cat food dishes in the sink. So let's go back to creativity and the idea that we're always creating out of nothing, and we're always starting over again. We're always creating out of nothing, and we're always starting over again. Because yesterday's news is yesterday's news. But the opportunity is today to bring forth light. Let there be light was the edict. Let there be light. And there was what? Light. Let there be light, the beginning of the creation story. What is the creation story but the constancy of our own journey in consciousness? The experience of our own journey in awareness and awakening. What is living a creative life, but a continuous doing of spiritual living, a continuous doing of spiritual living, not just human living, but spiritually human living in the experience experience of our lives. What are we doing? What are we doing? I'm not talking about what work we do. I'm not talking about lists of accomplishments. What are we doing inwardly that's flaming up our spiritual energetic in a time that we need it so very, 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 very much? And are the old ways working? Or are we called upon to move creatively into new and different explorations that will feed and inspire us? Not from the outside in, but inspire us from the inside out. How frequently are you inspired? So I have to ask myself this, like every day, how frequently are you inspired from the inside out? Like, yoo-hoo, like I'm here. Inspired from the inside out, what would that look like? That you would be illuminated from the inside out, not like it's a rarity, but that it's a constancy. What would it look like if I was on fire in my own way, to the degree that I'm able in the moment, to flame up from within to meet the experience, instead of always looking for something to inspire that outwardly, and to ignite that is something that requires that we come to it again and again and again and again, not through discipline, not through obligation, not out of have to, should, need to, but out of, this is the place where my fire burns. This is what gives me strength. This is where my ability to be flexible and durable arises. So he's talking about the light, but he's talking about the light. Let there be light. As the edict from within, let there be light. Let there be light. If it's a mantra, let there be light, and there was light. It would be a way of focusing within us instead of around us, for the reinforcement of that. Let there be light in the midst of this time. Let there be light in this moment. Let there be light in the washing of the dishes or the whatever I'm doing here. And now let there be some light. You say, I don't feel any light. There is no light. Well, let's at least pronounce light as a reality of our being, even when we cannot feel it, see it, taste it, touch it, extend it. It's nonetheless present. It's nonetheless real. Let there be light, and there was light. The affirmation is whole and complete. The act of creation is whole and complete. Let there be an awareness that the light is present here in the midst of my being in this moment in time, not as a let there be from on high, but let there be as, let me drop what it is that is surrendering to the experience of this incredible experience of the light within. He said the light is the beginning of the creative process. When you can center yourself in the light, in the experience of the illumination of your own being, when you can give your attention to that, what begins to happen externally is other things begin to take form and shape, form and shape, form and shape. And when we can't be the producers, if you will, of a state of mind that's able to see this illumination, this light force in the midst of us, even when we can't see it or feel it, to affirm the presence of that as the reality of our being. What is it that we think runs our body? What do we think runs our body? Does my head run my body? Well, people talk about my brain function has a whole lot to do with running my body, or my organs, or whatever, but what's really running my body, what really exists in this that we call a body? But light. Light. Pure light. We are made of pure light. And it doesn't really have to do with anything psychological. It doesn't have anything to do with what our emotion is in any given moment, because it doesn't have that give and take, give and take, give and take. It's a constancy. In dark times, we are still filled with light. It can be no other way. When I give my attention to it, or when I do those things that provoke my awareness of it, or move into that deeper dialogue with the experience of the light within, and not within, and he says it better than anyone, not within like a raisin in a bun. That's a Butterworth familiar saying. I don't mean like a raisin in a bun within you, or like a potential, a reality. We're made of the substance of light taking form through the creative process of the creative energy of life itself. Even when the mind goes dark, even when the heart breaks, it doesn't change the nature of being. That's why when we walk through dark times, we frequently go, oh, there's a light. Well, yes, there is. And it's not about forcing the issue. It's about using our time entertaining the possibility that the light is still bright, shiny, alive. I wish I had the word. He talks about the rheostat, just turn up the rheostat a little. Just give yourself permission for a little more in the moment. Light, let there be light, let there be light. The creative process of the light, he said, is illustrated by this particular story. I have read this story before, and I didn't realize it was in this book. He's saying, he's saying there, he was fascinated by an article written by Jacques Lucéran that gives a new insight into the process of seeing. It was titled Blindness, A New Seeing of the World. The author tells the story of how he lost his eyesight at age 8. He was a brilliant student, and he was increasingly disturbed by the absence of any recognition in education that the world is not just outside us, but also within us. He describes the experience of becoming blind and having the frightening challenge of finding his way between doors and walls and people and trees. But early on, he made a discovery that though he could not see the light of the world outside, the light was still within him. He found that as long as he paid attention to the light within him, he rarely had problems getting around. Intuition, knowing, deeper knowing, a reliance on something present that is normally covered over because we compensate with our ability to see or hear. He's listening all the time. in order to move or be present as an active human being, he has to tap into another resource, and it is the light within and the guidance that goes with it. He found that as long as he paid attention to the light within him, he rarely had problems getting around. And he also discovered that there was only one way to see this inner light, and that was through love. If he was ever overcome by anger or resentment or bitterness or sorrow, or if he envied people, his light immediately decreased. He said that sometimes the light went out completely, and then he really became blind. That's when he was consumed by something in the external world that really had him in a stir and turmoil. But the blindness was not the result of a loss of vision. It was the result of a loss of loving. So now I was confused. You know, it's the middle of the night. I'm like working on stuff. I'm confused. So we're talking about light. So did Eric Butterworth get a little confused? Now we're talking about love. How do those two things fit together in this awareness? How do those two things match up? That we're talking about light, but what he's talking about, what impedes our ability to experience the light that we are these obstacles we've constructed that somehow we believe are more powerful than the presence of the light. And those things then, whatever we call them, are the ways we block our inner view or our inner access to this presence of love. But how does that fit with light? Well, Lutheran says, if I'm not open and in willingness to commune in love with this life force of my own being, this light force of my own being, this creative light within my own being, if I'm closed down because my inability to be a channel of love is blocked, my ability to be a channel of love is somehow twisted and closed off, I can't see or feel either love or be a conduit for this light. What? I said. Butterworth goes on, this calls for a new insight into love. Love is not an emotion. The light's going out. Oops. I didn't mean it. I take it all back. Yeah. This calls for a new insight into love, says Butterworth. Love is not an emotion. It's not a commodity that we give and receive, nor can our lives be ruined or empty because we've been deprived of love. Love is neither learned nor taught. We are created in and of love. It's what we are. We sometimes have mental blocks that impede the free flow of love in and through us. But we're creatures of love. We need to discover what it is in our personalities that turns off the innateness of our being. Lutheran points out that we are conduits for the flow of divine love and that love is infinite, but I still don't understand When I say let there be light, what that has to do with love. Well, what he's saying, I think that's very powerful, is you can't have one without the other. You can't be attentive to the light of your being without at the same time being an expression or a conduit or a channel of divine love. You can't have divine love if you haven't proclaimed the nature of the light that's present within you. If you haven't attended, if you're not present to the reality of your beingness, you can't have one without the other. You can't have light without clarity and wisdom and intuition and knowing and guidance, and you can't bring your attention to light and begin to ignite and flare up the light within you without it bringing to you step by step awareness and guidance about what's next. But you can't feel or ignite that presence of light without the field of love. They're one and the same. They're in union and joined in many ways. And you can't have love without light. And you can't have light without love. And when we shut down one or the other, we discover that our lives call us back to be in the awareness as we can be in the awareness of whatever it is that we are calling forth into being. It sounds complicated until you feel it. When you're full of light, you are overwhelmed by the experience of this something, this power, this fullness, this that he would call love. And you say, well, light is light and love is love, and it's just that way. But until we attend it, until we bring ourselves into that divine embrace, into the conscious connection, then it's hit and miss. And maybe it's hit and miss anyway for everyone. But I know that I frequently turn the light way low on the rheostat. Why? Because I'm afraid? Because the world is too crazy? Because my friend dies? Because the world is a scary, crazy place? All of a sudden I'm dialing down. I'm believing what I'm reading, seeing, hearing. But that's in my consciousness, not in my reality. I can't dial down the light in my body. I didn't create it. It's not mine. I don't own it. It came, it put on skin, and here it's going through all these motions, and my mind is telling me every kind of story about love and light and everything else in the world, and my mind is like taking over, believing that it's the source and in charge of all things, when in fact what I need to be doing is periodically intervening to say, I proclaim light in the midst of this circumstance. I call forth the light in this moment for myself, for others, for us all. That's what we do or do not do. Paul said, I baffle myself. I baffle myself. I don't do what I want to do. I do what I don't want to do. I am a puzzle. I am a confusion. And still, I am the light of the world. I don't know. These 7 steps. He said you can't begin this journey without entertaining the light. He said there's got to be a let there be moment. If you really want to experience the fullness of what's really happening in you and what's possible. There has to come a let there be moment. And we've all had our let there be moments. And sometimes we're just waiting for the next one. Gotta go. Time's up. Time's up. Well, you already took a break. I could see. I could see you. You went, you got coffee, you got a little bit of water. You went to sleep. You went outside. Yeah, I know. Let there be light in our world. Let there be light in our hearts. Let there be mind light, heart light, light and more light. The light surrounds us and fills us and overflows us. It rises from that which is the ultimate mystery. And every step we take is guided by that light. In all ways, I walk the path of light. And even when it seems I'm somewhere in the wilderness, still I am guided by the light. And more than that, I am whole through the presence of love. Love, the greater love, the love that can't be confined or bought or sold. That love is the wholeness of my being and the wholeness of all of life on every layer and level, in every dimension. The presence of love is the divine emanation of the creative process and power at work in us and through us. We bless your offerings. We bless your generosity. We give thanks for your gifts. We give thanks for your presence. We know the truth of limitless substance and abundance. And we see that for each of you and for all of us. Loving Spirit, you guide us, enfold us, hold us close and safe. You fill us and overflow us, and in your presence, all is well. And so it is. See you soon. See you real soon. Have a great week.
I am a divine, healthy and bright vibration of love and light. I am a divine, healthy and bright vibration of love and light. It's an affirmation and a prayer. We used to do it with my daughter at night. She liked it, and then at night I'd go in and I'd say, hey, you want to do it? She says, I know, I'm a divine, healthy, and bright vibration of love and light. I am a divine, healthy, and bright vibration of love and light. I am whole. I am whole. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere we go, we're gonna let it shine. Everywhere we go, we're gonna let it shine. Everywhere we go, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Have a beautiful Valentine's Day, everyone.